Hey traders, welcome to Charts and Coffee. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Maybe saw a fun movie. I saw the new Marvel movie. What was it called? Thunderbolts? I can't remember the name, but it was a pretty darn good movie. So I hope everyone got a little time away from the charts. And I also posted top tier outlook last night. And if you haven't checked that out yet, please do, especially if, at the beginning of a week, maybe you're at a loss for what it is to focus on. Maybe you're at a loss for, hey, do I have a bullish watch list? Do I have a bearish watch list? Which one is it that I'm mostly focused on? Those kinds of things. And we have a saying in the Sector Secrets Mastery, and it's one that I've embraced my entire career. What I trade is more important than how I trade it. And what that means is, look, if you're a momentum trader, if you're a trend follower, if you're a buy the dipper, if you're a breakout trader, whatever it is, we need follow through. We need movement in a certain direction. And it's the behavior that gets us into the trade. In other words, if I'm a buy the dipper, which I am, it's the dip that gets me in, but it's the follow through that pays me. And so the one thing that we're all looking for are symbols with follow through. So for example, I'm going to use, what point is there to use anything other than what we're doing in the mastery, right? We need more analysis in this trading world. We need, hey, this is my book. This is why I'm in it. So let's get to it. One of the open long put positions, and a number of our traders are trading short MCL or CL. So whether you're trading crude oil through the full size contract, through the micro contract, through options on the futures, or in the options on the USO ETF, again, directionally, the expectation is after it hits a resistance level, it's going to sink. And that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Now, I would have loved for this Darvis here at about $55 a barrel to have broken and then continued. But it does look like the first go around visiting that low, as you can see here from Wednesday, the 9th of April, we bounced from that level. So that Darvis level did what I would expect it to do, which is, at least for now, act as support. But that gap down should give us a nice opportunity to scale out of those USO puts and move the stop to break even. And that's the other thing that I want to think about when I'm managing a trade. At what point in the trade can I skew the risk reward ratio to my favor? In other words, protecting my capital, realizing a profit. That first target is so key, because for a lot of traders, the first target is about, doubling premium or a certain percentage gain or things like that. A lot of times that first target is not going to be the big gain for the trade, because if you really think about it, a well-placed first target should really be the first step of risk management. And then the second target becomes more of a reward management. So I think about that first target, not from, how much did I make? Can I protect my capital? Can I put a little something in my account? So it's a slight shift in mindset. And when you shift that mindset, you'll find you're looking at your first targets in a much more, let's say, prudent or realistic way. You're not looking for that huge win on T1. You're looking for a moderate win. And then you think, okay, now I can get greedy. So let's talk about getting greedy. All right. This is such a great example of getting greedy. We have a long call position in Walmart. We've already scaled out once, and I've been really slowly waiting for movement to the upside that would start to sort of create a bit of a frenzy, if you will. And the idea was, if we could get above roughly 96.60, we could see a good push. Well, you could see we're going to open at 98.50, 98. So rather than scaling out, and here's what a common scenario is for traders. They wait for a really long time to take out T1 and scale out, and then T2 and 3 come really quickly. Instead, think about, can you be a little quicker, a little bit more maybe conservative on T1, and then get really ambitious? I like to call it greedy mode. Can I get greedy on T2? And that's exactly what we're doing. And this is going to be more of a moderate gain on T1, but a double of premium paid at T2. So and that leaves one more target, because I look for 3 targets in total for a trade. And so if I were to compare that to, say, let's go back to crude oil for a moment, because one of the questions is, how much lower can it go? PK, here's the thing. I don't need it to go lower than the Darvis. How much lower can it go? I have no idea, right? OPEC is going to increase production. But that's probably largely priced in. Here's the thing. All I need it to do, PK, is go to my first target, because I'm going to pay myself. Great. I get to ring the cash register, and then I get to move to a break-even stop. After that, look, would I love for it to keep going lower? Sure. Is the downside probably more probable if it were to break 55? Sure. But if it doesn't, I've done my job. Protected risk. Notice I mentioned that number 1. It's always risk before reward. And then I put something in my account, because consistent account growth is the key, right? That's always what I'm looking for. And I don't mean taking a small account from 1,000 to 2,000 again and again and again, right? When people talk about doubling accounts, let's say someone says, oh, I doubled an account 5 times. Well, 1 to 2 is 2,000. 2 to 4 is 4,000. 4 to 8 is 8,000. And that's only 3 doubles in. 16,000, 32,000. So when people talk about doubling accounts, well, sure, maybe you started with 1,000. But if you did it 5 times, truly did it 5 times, you're trading a $32,000 account now. That's what most people do. They go drive a small account to maybe double it, and they drive it back down to 1,000. That's not consistent account growth, right? So those are slight nuances. Can you imagine a hedge fund doing that? Can you imagine Buffett saying, well, I just kept taking profit and growing the small account to a bigger level again? That's not what I know you're in it for. If you're sitting here at 9:07 in the morning, 23 minutes before the bell rings, you're looking for that, right? That consistent account growth. You're looking for 1 year to be trading X, and the next year to be trading X plus, and then X plus, and then X plus, right? Me too. That's always been the goal. All right. Next up is Kat, thank you so much. We have a lot of great content here. I'm not sure if you're at the Simpler Trading channel or if you're at my channel, but either way, we got great content at both. And thanks for being here. All right. Next up is what's a good level to get into long gold calls? We probably, Kat. So in the Sector Secrets Mastery, we've been setting up trades since January 27th for the long side. I'm a big fan of the long side. We took a long trade via GLD calls last week. And, the follow through has been a little bit more erratic, but this is not a recent thing. The follow through has been increasingly erratic since the story for gold went mainstream. What do I mean by that? Look at January, February, and into March. Once we broke 3,000 and this became a bigger, more mainstream story, it's gotten incredibly erratic. I'm still bullish on gold, but I know the journey is going to be less, rather than this nice smooth ride along the countryside. All of a sudden, it's turned into a bit of a demolition derby. Those are tougher to manage from a risk perspective when I look at more volatility, but I'm not bearish. I'm just not as bullish as I was, but I'm certainly not bearish. And I'm not even allowed to be. So you might say, Rog, what does that mean? Look at the color of the candles. Look at the color of the candles for most of the year. Look at the color of the candles even now from the right edge, maybe going back 5 candles. There are 5 green candles. I'm not even allowed to be in long puts. This is a long call trade or long gold trade based on the daily time frame. Now, if someone has a longer time horizon, weekly time frame, monthly time frame, that might be a different conversation. If someone has a short-term time frame, maybe a 1 hour, maybe a 5 minute, also the psychology of that time frame might be a different conversation. But for daily time frame swings, it's long calls. And I've got to wait for dips like what we saw at the mean reversion on May 1 and on May 2. So those are things, again, that I would look at. Like I said, we had a quick position in gold. We had 295 calls. We bought them at $6. We scaled out at 805. And now, we still have these things. That was our believe our Friday recap. So just to give you an idea of what we've got, long Walmart, long Kroger. That's another long. So look, a lot of what I've been thinking about this year is we need more thesis and analysis and ideas, like we need a hole in the head, right? I got sufficient holes in my head. I don't need more opinion. What I want to know from traders I respect is, what do you got? You don't need to tell me the details. You don't need to tell me the specific strategy, but tell me what you're doing. Tell me even broadly, are you bullish or bearish? Tell me more specifically where you're bullish. So, for me, part of my job is saying, hey, I'm bullish in these particular symbols. And I'll give you our current book in the mastery. Long Walmart 90 calls, long Kroger. I love that symbol. It's in the Invesco ETF as well as the XLY. We're long WPM, which is Wheaton. It's attached to that gold narrative. But by the way, I also took a position in Agnico and I got stopped out. Agnico started sinking. I'm not going to add to the position and do all these things that, look, history tells us a few things. And every new trader has the habit of, well, I'll dollar cost average. When you start seeing lists of respected traders, when you start seeing lists of traders who've been doing this for a long time, some even longer than me, right? And I'm coming up on my 34th year. They'll tell you one really simple thing. And I've distilled it to this one simple statement: losers add to losers, right? So AEM did not do what I needed to do from the level that I bought it. I'm not going to put disproportionate risk in my account. We had two ideas of that. The other one was Wheaton. Wheaton's going to do great. In fact, it's probably knocking on the door of our first target. Cut the losses while they're small. Don't feed the monster. And then the things that are doing well are going to grow exponentially. Walmart, Kroger, Wheaton. We're going to likely scale out of crude oil this morning. And then our long calls, 295 calls for May 16 in gold. They're going to be looking very good this morning. So those are the things that we want to keep in mind in terms of growing an account. What are those habits? Those habits are pay yourself when you can, not when you have to, right? Be more conservative, if not prudent, about T1s. Get ambitious about T2s, and then wait for those dips, because that's going to, for me, what I found throughout my career is that buying the dip gives me a lower cost for the option, gives me less risk because I paid less. Part of risk is cost. And then it gives me a better reward, because if I buy high and it goes higher, that's not a lot of gain. But if I buy low and it goes higher, you can see it's a lot more gain. So that buy low, buy the dip. There's a reason, it's a meme. I get it. You have to find the right structure. You have to find the right symbol that has the probability for follow through. That's part of my job. That's probably the hardest part of the job, to be quite frank. But it's that continuation that pays us. And by getting a low cost dip triggered option or whatever you're trading, futures, crypto, stock, whatever, my risk reward ratio is going to be better than waiting for a breakout. All right. So let's see. Next up is on my shorts. So that's what I will do. CAD on my shorts list, TSLA. Would you please analyze? Okay. So I don't use the 50-day. I'll show you what I do use, Renee. Is Tesla high on my list of things to trade? It really isn't, but it is. When I did the watch list, if y'all watch the top tier from yesterday, I did put Tesla on the list, and it has at least 5 green candles, but I can't buy it until it comes down to probably about 270. It's not high on my list, though. It meets the criteria of being bullish, but I do have a list of you can kind of see my chicken scratch right there. That's one stock of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns of symbols. So would it be high on my list? Probably not. Is it on the list? Yes. And 270 would likely be about where I'd even consider the conversation starting. That Darvis is probably 250. I'd like to see it sink into that gray zone of the daily price movement range on my daily time frame. Now, that's for a daily time frame conversation, right? That's really where the, in terms of support, buying the dip and not needing a brand new high, that's the way I would set that up. But daily time frame, there might be something different on an hourly. There might be something different on a 5-minute. But for the daily swing, that's my focus. All right, I'm gonna click and on this next. It's not a question, but it's a really good reminder for everyone to use their brains. I am never going, and this is not a question for me. In fact, it's not even for me. Abdi Dawdi. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. I did not solicit you. There are, and this is a reminder for everybody. I'm doing shows. I'm running a room. I'm writing content. Believe me, I do not have time to key in one person at a time, DM them on Telegram, Instagram, and any of the grams, and solicit money. Okay, $35. I would not spend my time trying to ask anyone for $35. So ask yourself, gosh, I've seen the kind of gains Raghee makes. Why would she be DMing me for $35? Guess what? Wasn't me. Please, gang, I will never direct message you on any of social media. I can hardly keep up with the people that I want to keep up with that are part of my mastery. I'm not going to go solicit you for money. I'm sorry you got scammed. That's not me. All right. And I want to remind everybody, I have friends that'll joke with me and say, hey, Rog, there's a scammer on Instagram who says they're you. They've got their picture of you. But if you look at the spelling of their name, it's Raghee with 3 E's. It's Raghee Horner with 2 O's. I am sorry, my friend, you got scammed. I mean, if I could, I would love to take those people out into the woods and come back alone. I hate that happened to you. But please don't ever, anyone listening, give anyone money who pretends to be me. It's definitely not me. And yeah, my apologies. I cannot keep up with the number of scammers out there. I report all of them that I see. I'm not even on TikTok for that reason. One of the reasons I'm not on TikTok is A, I really don't like the platform. But B, I think the last time I checked, it took me literally 2 minutes to scroll through all the fake Raghees. That's how bad it is. In fact, I even have a video of it scrolling through TikTok Raghee Horner usernames. It's terrible. These people are awful people. Yeah, and I'm sorry that happened to you. Okay, PLTR. Take a look. Do I like PLTR? Yes. Am I going to buy it at a high? Not going to do it. Jawan, any one of these lows, just if you like it at 120, look, how many times is it going to pull back? About $5, right? It's very consistently giving you pullbacks every now and then of about $5. Are we going to see maybe a $1.25 print today? Yes. But I will tell you, we will likely see 120 again. Why is that so important? You'll pay less for PLTR, right? On the pullback. And then when we reach that high again, you can pay yourself, kind of like crude oil. I don't need crude to go to brand new lows. If it does, great. But if it doesn't, at least I'm not stuck there waiting for this option to appreciate. Now, here's another thing I'll mention about PLTR, Jawan. Take a look down there. See that E? All right. I am not going to trade PLTR in front of earnings. All right. So let the earnings happen. I probably won't even look at this again until tomorrow. Actually, no, I won't even look at it again until Wednesday because it comes out today after the bell. I need one full session for market participants to digest whatever happened. And then maybe Wednesday or Thursday, I would consider anything, if anything, to do with PLTR. By the way, good news. I do like this stock a lot, Jawan, because one of the things that the bot did over the weekend is PLTR has daily price movement ranges. It's one of the symbols a lot of folks asked about. And we have new daily price movement ranges. You ready? For Broadcom, so AVGO, CRWD, RDDT, MNST, Hood, KR, Kroger, which I love, and PLTR. So we have seven new symbols on that daily price movement range tool. So super excited about that. Okay, as always, thank you so much for being here for Charts and Coffee. Be vigilant, gang. Use your head. Realize that there's some really awful people out there trying to take your hard-earned money. Like I said, if I could, I would take care of these people, but I can't. There's too many of them. So we have to work together, help each other out. And, if someone hits you up, you know where to find me at Charts and Coffee. Hey, Rod, did you DM me? And I say, if I had the time, it'd be fun. But it wasn't me. All right. So before you pay anybody, if you're hearing the show, ask me, hey, Rod, was that you? I'm telling you right now, it won't be. So thank you so much, gang. Be good to each other. I'll see you tomorrow.